Justice is our prayer. May it be so. Let us worship together. Marcia Nathanson will light the chalice here in the sanctuary, and those of you at home are invited to light your own chalice now. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope as a sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourself muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with us as big and loud as you'd like. Make it a joyous experience. This is a special service today with beautiful versions of the hymns across the screen. Did we change that?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing.
Okay, I didn't realize you would be playing. Nix that last line.
Same old, same old.
Yep.
Only sing out.
Okay, so please stand in body and our spirit and sing the opening hymn, Blessed Spirit of Life, number 86.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. When life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you've joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds, as well as community leaders, to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU7 principles and 6 values: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. Today's service centers around the 6th principle. We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. My name is Diane DeMarco, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Dolores. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you joined us this morning. And if you would like to introduce yourself or your guest, please raise your hand. If you are not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed of all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out What's Happening, the e-blast sent to you every week. This is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for brief announcements that will be of interest to our community and friends. Please be succinct when announcing upcoming events or updates. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand, and when Randy or I call you, come up to the podium or unmute yourself and then speak. Yes. Robert.
Yes, it's me. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
For those who are making charitable contributions at the end of the year, we ask you to consider the guest at our table. The guest at our table was the subject of the December 1 sermon by the Reverend Laura Randall. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee uses the money it raises to support social and environmental justice programs consistent with our principles. Among the programs the UUSC supports are the Haitian Bridge Alliance, which supports Haitian refugees in exercising their rights, and the Youth for a Greener Environment, which fights the effects of global warming in the Marshall Islands. Contributions can be made directly to the UUSC, and we have envelopes that we can provide you with, or you can give a check made out to the UUSC or a box of loose change if you still use that, to Andy, Feigin, or me. Please let the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee know that you're a member or a friend of the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria, so our congregation is acknowledged for its collective contribution. If you have any questions, let me or Andy know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, Dolores.
Board meeting tomorrow, 3 o'clock on Zoom.
Hi, Andy Feigin here. Men's group meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. here in the sanctuary. And on Zoom, I'll send out the usual Zoom link if you can't be here in person, 10 a.m. in the sanctuary if you can be.
Randy?
No raised hands here. Back to you, Diane.
Yes, Don, sorry.
Oh.
For those of you who may not be aware, the Cambria Chorale is giving its second concert of the, we did last week, we did a beautiful job, but now we've practiced even more, and so we're even better. So it's at 2 o'clock, and you can, there are tickets available at the door, so I invite you to come.
Location?
Location? Oh, duh, sorry. Presbyterian Church is the one, over by the fire station there, yeah. So I look forward to seeing you if you can make it, but it's, Maria and I have a lot of fun, it's just us, Diane, so, yeah.
We have a good time. Next week, our own Maria Rao will present Emotional Freedom Technique, Mere Placebo Effect, or Is It For Real? Come find out. Joys and Concerns is a time for sharing personal celebrations, sorrows, reflections, or gratitude. This is a time for community building, so please exercise brevity. Thank you. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are deeply felt in this community. The Good Wife is a popular series that was made for television about 15 years ago. In season 7, episode 6 of the series, The Good Wife, the head attorney, Diane Lockhart, has a conversation with a young Black female attorney, Monica, who is interviewing for a position at the firm. The scene starts towards the end of the interview. I commend your ingenuity and your chutzpah. Well, maybe if I'd put that in the special skills section of my resume, I'd have a job. Monica, I'm not saying our world today is enlightened. Far from it. But starting out as a woman in a big law firm 30 years ago, let's just say I empathize. Everyone has to eat dirt on the way up. The only difference is the kind. Are you seriously comparing histories? Yes, I am. If you choose to lay on your back for a male partner or two just to get ahead, that was your choice. Excuse me? I don't choose to have women hold their purses tighter when they see me coming down the street. I don't choose for cops to drag me out of my car and frisk me just for failing to signal. I'm not trying to equate. Yes, you are. And there is no comparison. I don't want your understanding. I don't need your advice. What I need is a job. Let us now enter a place of meditation. Let it be a consciousness that moves you away from distractive thoughts and allows you to be pulled into the here and now in this moment. Bring love and compassion to your own being and your own truth, inviting the deep connection of your soul to speak. Let us enter the stillness. When love and compassion are present in us and we send them outward, then that is truly prayer. Further, in sending love outward, we may notice a change in our own heart. The second reading is titled, "This Ain't No Country Club" by Nathan C. Walker. There's no time to be spinning around ourselves saying, we're so small, we're a minority religion, as if minority is somehow equivalent to inferior. No, the real problem is when we diminish our institutional self-worth by trying to be a country club religion. Who else here is tired of being internally focused and preoccupied with matters that are mostly inherently irrelevant? Where's my coffee? And why are those curtains crooked? And can you believe he wore that? And do you know what she said? And she said what she thought she said, and what he said, and what he would do, and what he wouldn't do. And where's my coffee? Preoccupations with idle chatter are a kind of self-poisoning. We should excommunicate such petty banter. It is time that we become a part of a progressive, visionary path that liberates future generations from the theological labyrinth of despair. It is time that we have the courage to transform from the social club into a collective force for justice. Because we ain't no country club. We ain't no intellectual secret society. And we ain't no navel-gazing, hum-diddity, dumb cult. We are an intentionally diverse community. We are a group of people who seek to lead meaningful lives, to love one another without prejudice, and to build a just and sustainable world. Let's inject this mission into our DNA and once and for all, get out of the committees and into the streets. Please stand in body or spirit and sing Our World is One, number 134.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make, a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Today, Andy Feigin has graciously agreed to read a different service than what we had expected on social justice. Andy.
Thanks, Diane. Hello, everybody, once again. So, Reverend Dr. Bruce C. Clear. He was raised in a devoutly Christian family, which regularly attended the Church of God in Anderson, Indiana. And he passed away in 2022 at the age of 72. As a youth, Reverend Bruce felt at home in the church and expected that it would become a major part of his life. But over time, he grew apart intellectually and doctrinally. When he went to college, he discovered Unitarian Universalism. This discovery made him feel that he could reclaim his childhood and youthful devotion, reclaim that feeling of being religiously and intellectually at home. He eventually became a UU minister serving the UU Church of Vancouver, Washington, and then the All Souls Church in Indianapolis. His sermons were known to challenge the members of his congregations individually and collectively, and to reflect consciously on their lives. And this sermon is no exception to that. It's challenging, so hang on. It's titled, "The Humanist in Me." I have come to discover that what most people know about humanism, they learned from the lips of Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, and other televangelists. It is a shame that this is so, but it is so. One key leader of the religious right, Tim LaHaye, wrote an immensely popular book years ago about humanism that has probably been read by more people in this country than the works of humanist writers such as Bertrand Russell and John Dewey put together. Let me share with you what lots of people know or think they know about humanism, as explained by LaHaye in his popular book entitled The Battle for the Mind. A few excerpts will do. Humanism is not only the world's greatest evil, but, until recently, the most deceptive of all religious philosophies. They are committed to doing away with every vestige of the responsible moral behavior that distinguishes man from animals. Humanist politicians permitted Russia to conquer the satellite countries of Europe and turn them into socialist prisons. Humanist politicians prevented us from winning in Korea and Vietnam, and they voted to give away the Panama Canal. No humanist is qualified to hold any governmental office in America, United States senator, congressman, cabinet member, State Department employee, or any other position that requires him to think in the best interest of America. Humanists work untiringly to keep parents from injecting any moral ideals into their children. Believe it or not, their goal is a worldwide generation of young people with a completely amoral or animal mentality. The incidence of rape has doubled in the last decade, an incredible increase in promiscuity, premarital sex, trial marriages, sexually transmitted diseases, abortions, and so forth has soiled our social fabric. These immoral expressions of amorality can be laid right at the door of the atheistic, amoral humanism that permeates our country. The book continues in this vein, on and on with the invective against humanism. Since I think you probably get the idea, mercifully, I'll end the quotes here. I had thought before reading that book that humanism was a small, esoteric group of deep thinkers with high ideals, but certainly not very powerful. Apparently, humanists have been busier than I had imagined. Now I discover from Mr. LaHaye that they have been busy spreading STDs and abortions, and to add insult to injury, they gave away the Panama Canal. I have been associated with humanist groups since I was in college. For most of that time, it has been my experience that humanists have been frantically and for the most part unsuccessfully trying to get their message out to the public at large. What they couldn't achieve, the religious fundamentalists did. Today, humanism has name recognition far beyond the wildest dreams of humanists in past generations. They have achieved the status of a household word. The name is heard on the evening news and mentioned from some pulpits about as often as the Bible, and it is standard fare for letters to the editor. None of this, of course, was their doing. No amount of money could have purchased the widespread publicity, however inaccurate, that they received. And they owe it all to the religious right. For the record, humanism is not just the whipping boy of the religious right wing in this country. It was not simply created for the benefit of televangelist fundraisers to help put fear of God in their potential contributors. No, humanism is as ancient a tradition as any, tracing back over the centuries to the early Greek thinkers. Those Greek thinkers, people like Socrates and Aristotle, identified human reason as far more powerful and effective than superstition, and urged civilization away from reliance on magical and supernatural understandings of life. In 1933, Harvard church historian Johannes Auer offered the following definition of humanism in his book, Humanism States Its Case. Quote, "Humanism is a system of thought which assigns predominant interest to human affairs as compared with the supernatural or the abstract, and which believes that human beings are capable of controlling those affairs." End quote. Like most of us, I first encountered the word humanism when studying the Renaissance period of history, when the great writers, artists, and scientists of our civilization turned their attention away from the heavens and discovered human beings in a new light. The scientific explorations of the Enlightenment added to the momentum of humanism by offering the scientific method as a new standard of evaluating truth, as a new measure for testing human knowledge. My own understanding of contemporary humanism came in high school by reading the writings of Bertrand Russell. This exceptional thinker represents, I think, much of the best of the humanist tradition: a thirst for knowledge, a commitment to justice, and an unanswering optimism about the progress of humanity. His one-page summary of his life, which introduced a 700-page autobiography, captures for me the spirit of humanism as it can be lived in real life. For those who think humanism has to be painless, I recommend the opening sentence, quote, "These passions, simple but overwhelmingly strong, have governed my life: the longing for love, the search for knowledge, and unbearable pity for the suffering of humanity." As a teenager, when I encountered the humanist philosophy exhibited through the writings of Russell and later John Dewey, this fresh approach appealed to me deeply. Some might say that I was corrupted through my reading of humanist writings in general and Bertrand Russell in particular. It feels far closer to the truth for me to say that I was liberated by them. Humanism is not a particularly complicated idea. It is not a set of beliefs so much as it is a set of commitments. It means holding concern for this worldly matters rather than other worldly matters, and being committed to that which improves the human condition in this world. Today, I find my link to the humanist view reinforced most strongly when I am asked to lead a memorial service for someone who's died. It is at these times that I understand most clearly that the life we live here and now is what counts most profoundly, and that our speculations about other world issues have little more significance than that: speculations. Let me offer one more description of humanist view. One of the better summaries I found is an unsigned pamphlet that was used by the Humanist Association I belonged to for many years in Portland, Oregon. It said this: "Humanism is non-dogmatic and open-ended. It is the belief that human beings are the source of meaning and values. It is a scientific search, self-correcting and open to change with new knowledge and new insights. Humanism is deeply concerned with ethics and values, but rather than telling people what they should or should not do, it assists their search for values and attempts to help them achieve their full, positive potential as human beings. Humanists see humanity as having the capacity for continued growth and development, and they accept responsibility for encouraging that growth. On the surface, this sounds suspiciously like Unitarianism, does it not? Well, it should, because Unitarians and humanists do, of course, have a great deal in common. It is not just a surface similarity. As a matter of fact, humanism, as an organized movement in the United States, began within Unitarian churches. In the opening years of this century, John Dietrich, a Unitarian minister in Spokane, Washington, and later in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was preaching a non-theistic religion he called humanism. In Des Moines, Iowa, a Unitarian minister named Curtis Reese was preaching a non-theistic religion he called the religion of democracy. When those two men met at a conference in 1917, they discovered the similarities of their messages, and Reese eagerly adopted Dietrich's label, humanism. Throughout the 1920s, the humanist view attracted many followers in the denomination. Eventually, the Humanist Fellowship was formed, largely by Unitarians at the University of Chicago. This group later organized as the American Humanist Association, and in 1933, a statement outlining the philosophy of humanism was published under the title, A Humanist Manifesto. Of the 84 people who originally signed the document, over half were Unitarian ministers. The most famous signatory, though, was John Dewey, the philosopher, who was then at Chicago and later at Columbia University. In considering my own views, I must also consider the relationship of humanism and Unitarianism. I am a humanist, and I am a Unitarian Universalist. I have been a humanist longer than I have been a Unitarian Universalist. I have been a humanist longer than I've been a Unitarian Universalist. Like many others, when I discovered the Unitarian Church, I found that my humanist thinking was not only compatible here, it was welcome. That this was a delightful surprise to me, as it may have been for many, many others. Is there a difference then between Unitarianism and humanism? Humanism as a movement, I have tried to show, is deeply rooted in Unitarianism. Is it also fair to say that Unitarianism is an organized movement historically rooted in the long-standing humanist traditions of the Enlightenment? As compatible and relatable as they are, though, I believe there are subtle differences in emphasis that ought to be recognized. One of the best statements of Unitarianism is that I've seen that gets at the differences between Unitarianism and humanism is an article by Marvin Shaw, a Unitarian who is a professor of religious studies at Montana State University. The reason this is such an excellent statement is, of course, because Shaw agrees with me. He says something that I've been saying over and over for years now. I'm almost sick of saying it. Unitarianism is not about beliefs. It is about values. So if you want to know about Unitarianism, if you want to know about what it is about, don't ask the question, what do Unitarians believe? That is not the proper question. Here's what Shaw says. quote, "The basis of unity in Unitarian Universalist churches and fellowships is not shared beliefs, but a common quest and the affirmation of the values necessary to its furtherance. Our liberal religious societies are not based on agreement as to belief, but on agreement as to method. We agree in affirming the value of a free and wide-ranging inquiry in religious belief, and we vow to establish an atmosphere in which the religious quest is nurtured and encouraged." End quote. This is about as good a summary of the Unitarian approach as I have seen. It is more important that we value freedom and respect for one another than it is that we value truth or our own version of the truth. This attitude or orientation that Unitarians share has its roots in the humanist tradition. Humanism, if it has taught anything, has taught the value of free inquiry, free thought, and freedom of belief. But I see a subtle difference in emphasis on this between the Unitarian approach and the humanist approach. It is common for Unitarians to summarize their values into 3 words: freedom, reason, and tolerance. Freedom, reason, and tolerance. These are all words inherited from the humanist tradition. Freedom, reason, and tolerance. The subtle differences in the emphasis I see, though, is that Unitarianism, the value of freedom takes precedence, and in humanism, the value of reason takes precedence. Freedom versus reason. This does not mean at all that Unitarians reject reason or that humanists reject freedom. Rather, as I say, it is merely and subtly a difference of emphasis. Both approaches are highly compatible. As a result, my experience of humanism, as it has evolved in the United States, is that it is less inclined than Unitarianism to incorporate a wide diversity of beliefs within its boundaries. And my experience of Unitarianism, as it has evolved, is that it is less inclined than humanism to require rational tests of acceptable beliefs within its boundaries. The risk involved for Unitarianism is that it seems to attract some flaky ideas and people. The risk involved for humanism is that it inhibits creative and imaginative ideas and people because they haven't passed the litmus test of rationalism. Let me give you an example. I told you this would be a lot. Let me give you an example. I would like to introduce you to 3 Unitarian friends of mine. I'll call them Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry represent somewhat extreme examples, but they do, I think, illustrate the point. I think of Tom as a kind of strange person. I'm sure he thinks of me the same way. His ideas take him further afield of reality than I would ever dream of going. He loves to play with exotic fortune-telling gizmos like I Ching and runes. These are not just games to him, they are life-enriching activities. He doesn't really think they foretell the future or give sage advice, but he does find them intriguing enough to use in better understanding of his life. Tom has been into just about every psychological fashion that comes along. He's taken his turn at pyramids and crystals. He knows about auras and demons, and of course, he is a strict vegetarian. Tom will share his explorations with me if I ask, but he doesn't insist I try them too. Tom is also into Eastern religions, and if you visit his house, you'll find a little Buddha stuck on the top of a bookshelf. Tom spends a lot of time meditating in front of that Buddha. Now let me tell you a bit about Dick. Dick is a Unitarian Christian. He reminds me continually that all the early Unitarians were Christians, and he is true to that tradition. Dick is, of course, a liberal Christian. He does not believe that Jesus was God or anything like that. He does not believe in such notions as the resurrection. But he does believe, and he will tell you about it if you ask, that Jesus' teachings about how to live, about loving your neighbor, about serving the least of these teachings are the wisest teachings of any religion. In this sense, Dick is a follower of Jesus, a Christian. He looks to the teachings of Jesus as his ethical guide, and the model of Jesus' life as his spiritual guide. He does not believe the Bible to be literally true. To him, it is a historical document like any other, but he does find in the Bible inspiration and insight into life's tough questions. Dick is a member of the UU Christian Fellowship, an organization of Christian Unitarians that promotes Bible study and other Christian activities. When the UU Christians gather together, they share in a Christian communion service. And then, of course, there's Harry. Harry subscribes to what he calls eco-spirituality. When I'm in the mood to kid Harry, I call him a tree hugger. Harry looks to nature for the source of his spiritual sustenance. One of the definitions of humanism that I read earlier said that it is the belief that, quote, human beings are the source of meaning and values, end quote. Harry would say that is too limited. He does not distinguish humanity as separate from nature. So he would say that nature itself is the source of meaning and values. Harry is a pantheist. He does not believe in God, in a separate God from the world, but believes that God permeates the world and all of nature. All of existence is sacred and worthy of respect and reverence. A tree, a flower, a chipmunk are all expressions of the divine, or so says Harry. Albert Schweitzer liked to refer to his philosophy as reverence for life. Harry extends his reverence beyond the human realm, beyond the realm of living organisms, to a reverence for the entire system of nature. Harry celebrates the turning of the seasons and the phases of the moon, the solstices and equinoxes, as a part of his religious rituals. Harry considered joining the group called the Covenant of UU Pagans, but the word pagan disturbed him, even if his ideas were similar to theirs. I tell the story of Tom, Dick, and Harry, all Unitarians, to illustrate the subtle differences I see between Unitarianism and humanism. Neither Tom, Dick, nor Harry are typical Unitarians, but they fall easily within the Unitarian boundaries because they share the same values, though not the same beliefs, of other Unitarians. None of them believes that their way is the right way, nor do they think that others must believe as they believe. All of them respect reason, and though their beliefs are not rationalistic, that is, they don't hold that their beliefs have been proven by the scientific method, neither do they think that they are irrational, that their beliefs have been proven false. Freedom, reason, and tolerance. In Unitarianism, the primary value is freedom, and therefore Tom, Dick, and Harry fall within the boundaries of Unitarianism, just as most humanism does as well. Freedom is primary, reason secondary. But for humanism, as I've experienced that movement, the primary emphasis is given to reason over freedom, and generally Tom, the meditating Buddhist, Dick, the liberal Christian, and Harry, the eco-pantheist, would fall outside the boundaries of humanism. Let me distinguish in a different way between the priority of beliefs on one hand and priority of values on the other. I myself am a humanist because in my own beliefs for my own religious journey, reason takes priority. I am a Unitarian because in a broader context than my own, the value of freedom takes priority for me. I must confess that my life is enriched by my association with Tom, Dick, and Harry. I do not, nor do I think I ever could, subscribe to their religious beliefs. The humanist in me holds reason too highly to accept their worldviews. But my own journey in life is enhanced by knowing them and discussing issues with them and even arguing with them. The Unitarian in me prizes freedom too highly to exclude them from my religious circle. The humanism I have described today is not all of me. There is more to me than just that. This sermon is the first installment in the series. Next week we will hear about the theist in me, and the following week, the Christian in me. The humanism I present this morning is explicitly a religious approach to humanism. It should be acknowledged that there is an abundance of schools of humanism, religious and secular, atheistic and theistic, and so forth. The humanism in me is of the religious sort, meaning that it provides for me a statement of meaning which can guide my life. This is the approach to humanism advocated by John Dewey, one of the saints of humanism. His credentials are, I hope, impeccable. In 1984, the year after he signed the Humanist Manifesto, he published a wonderful little book called A Common Faith. In this book, Dewey distinguishes between religion, which he describes as a specific set of beliefs and which he doesn't like, and religious, which is a specific quality of experience and which he does like. His thesis is that there is a religious dimension to human experience, whether or not one holds the beliefs of any specific religion. Dewey speaks out strongly against religion as an institutional force, but he urges us to embrace the religious quality of human experience in our lives, with or without a formal religion to go with it. In closing, here is the way in which he describes humanism as religious. The sense of dignity of human nature is as religious as is the sense of awe and reverence, when it rests upon a sense of human nature as a cooperating part of a larger whole. Understanding and knowledge also enter into a perspective that is religious in quality. Faith in the continued disclosing of truth, though through directed cooperative human endeavor, is more religious in quality than is any faith in completed revelation. Any activity pursued on behalf of an ideal end, against obstacles and in spite of threats of personal loss because of conviction of its general and enduring value, is religious in quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Food for thought, huh?
Lots of these.
The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember, we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you are viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. our thanks for all the gifts given and received for the work of this community. And thank you, Steve, for doing such a beautiful job with Imagine. Please stand now in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, Wake Now My Senses, number 298.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community, and the chalice flame is extinguished. We shall carry its glow onward. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. Please extinguish your chalice now at home. Now let's form a circle and join hands. Some came here to be blessed with answers in tumultuous world. Let us hope too, however, that many of us have been blessed with questions to direct us with a clarity of mind to steer our logic towards kindness and justice, always. Blessed be.